Thanks very much. That was a pretty impressive introduction. Quick thanks to the organisers and the volunteers for getting B-Sides Bristol off the ground. Pretty impressive. Today I'm going to be talking about this stuff, or physical red teaming and realistic attack scenarios. So, in truth, what that really is dressing up, breaking in, telling fibs and hacking as much as you can. So today I'll be talking about kind of how we get into the buildings and warehouses and different properties, and less so much about the techie bit about what we do once we're in. So I'm the technical director and co-founder at Modux. We are a boutique consultancy based out of Bristol, delivering pen testing, check testing, technical research, but we're lucky enough to work across telecoms, finance, UK Gov, and we kind of hack all sorts of things, from servers to boats to 4G networks to bank ATMs, shop kiosks, voting machines, whatever we're trusted with. We kind of get in and have a good time. So this is two of our guys, Tom and Ben, with big smiles on their faces after we'd spent 10 days up in north of Scotland hacking an automated ship, which I'm sure you can guess was amazing. So that wasn't actually a red team, but that was more of a technical penetration test, see what we could do with the ship, see if we could hack it, see if we could take it somewhere. So this is me. I'm technical director. So I started out as a software developer. After finishing university, I studied music, believe it or not. And I realized pretty early on that there weren't any jobs writing music for film. So I decided to learn how to code while I was at university, got some freelance work, and the company I was working for got hacked, and I was really interested in how that happened, and shortly after moved into security. And I've been working in security for well over 10 years now, and I lose count, but yeah, same as a lot of people here, I guess. Kind of, it helps to have a bit of a cheeky side as well, and I'm sure, as you know, there's probably a lot of hackers in the room. Kind of helps if you can build a career out of it. So this is me. The last slide is probably obvious, that passes a bit photoshopped, but that's okay, because so is that one, and so is that one, and so is that one. So it doesn't really matter how good your photoshopping skills are. You can kind of use a lot of pretty loose techniques to kind of appear like you're where you're supposed to be, just with a simple pass and a lanyard. So I like to carry quite a few. So when we're on site, obviously, create as much distraction as you can. So when we're going on site, we do take as many of these as we can get. So I'm missing a purple one. If anyone's got a purple one, I'm in the market for a purple lanyard at the moment for a job coming up. So this pass, actually, I did tell a lie. It's not photoshopped. This pass was made on a machine in the client's reception, and they were kind enough to put a camera in, so it's supposed to take your photo and print out the pass. And I held up my phone with a picture of Super Mario on it as it took the photo and then entered my details in. And because the guys on the security desk are so used to just seeing these visitor passes, sure enough, when you walk up and you say, "Oh yeah, I'm here to see Peter," whoever, they just swing the gate and you go on in, and you can kind of start getting to work. So again, it's not crazy technical hacking, but it's just being a bit cheeky. And with this pass, it's only happened to us twice where security guards have actually approached us and said, "Excuse me, you kind of seem to be in the wrong area." With this pass, we were sat outside the CEO's office in a couch area, and we thought it was a breakout area just for all staff. And we had kind of antennas trying to get pick up the wireless signal, and the receptionist for the CEO asked us, why are you sat here? And called security over. And the security guard, first thing he does is grabs the pass, and he sees the name and the logo that was in the top left, and says, "Oh, it's no problem. They're with us," and just let us go about making the wireless faster. So red teaming, I'm sure you've all heard of it. So why do we do it? So it's important for us to really highlight key areas for improvement in the organization. So a lot of organizations are going to have policies on how they secure their systems, how they secure access to buildings, and how they segregate privilege within their organizations. It's really important that we can highlight those vulnerabilities, but also we're going to be focused on the gaps. And everyone continually is getting focused on the controls, and everyone's proud about the controls that they've put in. But it's our job to kind of rip up the rule book and just say, well, actually, your smokers leave the door open every time on a Monday between 11, and we can just get in through that door. So it doesn't matter necessarily about the policies and the processes. It's really important for us to go and highlight those gaps that we see on the day. We can chain vulnerabilities as well. So a lot of pen tests are really quite tightly scoped. So if we're given free reign over an organization, and if that's globally, maybe we can travel as well. We're able to chain those vulnerabilities that get us into that first server, and we're able to escalate up through the organization and really prove the concept that we can go from a real low access level to owning the whole company. And of course, it's a bit silly, and we love it, and it's great that we get to sell this kind of work. So the approach is to focus on high risks. So we're not really interested in cross-site scripting and a TLS certificate that's out of date on a server, or, maybe there's a barrier that lets you into the car park. We don't really care about this kind of stuff. We're only going to focus and report on stuff that gets us into the company. So a lot of the time we'll be throwing away stuff that we don't care about. So we'll see a lot, and it might be a security risk, and it could be great to pad out a report, but we're not interested in that stuff. We're only interested in the stuff that gets us as the quickest route into controlling the organization. And it's sample-based as well. So we're not sampling every door in an organization. We're not sampling every server. It's really just about picking where we think that we can use technology and weaknesses to get us into the organization. And it helps us identify really weak corporate structure. So a lot of these gaps in policy are due to people not communicating properly or people not following process. That's the boring bit. So getting in, we can go in through Wi-Fi, obviously. We can try and hack the wireless, crack hashes and the rest of it. We can try phishing, which is really successful. We can go on site into buildings, and we can go in through the internet and through industry specific stuff. So like I mentioned, ATMs and kiosks and the rest of it. So problems with Wi-Fi, it's quite time consuming. So on a Monday, you walk around, you've got to start collecting packets. You've got to hope that people are connected to the right access points. It can also be secured. So it can be secured with a conversation. We can ask the client, well, are you using certificates, using WPA Enterprise? And if they are, then we know it's probably fairly secure up to a point. But if they're not doing that, then there's probably a way into the wireless network. So that doesn't necessarily need a full-on red team, but it can, wireless can definitely be secured. And actually, wireless is one of the main things that slows us up on a red team. If there aren't any Ethernet ports and there's secure wireless, that can make it really, really difficult to get access into an organization once we're in the building. But I'll come on how we do that later. Phishing, it works. So inevitably, if you've got a large organization, you're going to get in through phishing. So again, we don't necessarily have to put that in our red team methodology because we know it's going to work, and we can work with the client to understand how they're going to potentially be phished and what things that they can have at their email boundary that's going to help stop them getting phished. We were running a job 2 weeks ago for a very strange financial investment firm out of Paris. And they were a company of only about 150 people. And even within that 150 people, we had 2 people finally open the final payload. So, if you've got that, it's approximately, 1-2% of people opening it in a larger organization, that's definitely going to get you in. So time well spent, compromise through buildings. Again, we've got 100% success rate of getting into buildings and then getting onto the network following that. Web applications for larger organization, this is a really, really brilliant way in because you can start to fingerprint the organization from the internet, and there's no real way that you're going to get caught or detected in that initial fingerprinting stage. So you can spend a lot of time just crawling the websites, understanding the technology they have, and again, eventually you will get in. And through industry-specific technology. So one of the most alarming projects that we did in 2017, we were able to compromise a large organization through the 4G network that they provide. And we were able to do that globally as well. So going in through the user equipment, through the core network and onto the enterprise network. And we got domain admin ultimately through the user equipment. And again, a lot of these things is about persistence. So if you can kind of spend enough time trying to get in through something, eventually, if you've got enough knowledge, you will eventually be able to get in. So today I'm going to be focused on physical security. So we're looking at getting into head offices, branches and shops, data centers, and third parties. So head office, obviously, this is often more secure than a lot of the other locations because people think that's where their crown jewels are, obviously forgetting the fact that networks kind of leave the building. Branches and shops can be a great one because then you're up against staff that maybe haven't been trained in the same way as people in head offices. So we've been able to get into the backroom cabs of different companies that have shops and go in through kiosks and things like this and get access to the enterprise network and get domain admin whilst we're sat, in high vis in the back of a shop. And then it's not necessarily a fair assessment of training and awareness, but it's because, maybe the guy's new that day but actually it helps highlight the network segregation from the shops. And it's kind of highlights a lot of the different layers within the organization that potentially need fixing. Data centers are getting harder and harder to get into. You can dress like a techie, but still a lot of the time you'll have barriers that are kind of weighing you, or they're using iris scanners and the rest of it. So they're getting harder. And third parties is a great way to compromise an organization. If you can get it signed off that the third party's in scope and get that agreed, then that can be a brilliant way. So various stages. Again, if any of you are pen testers or, you've seen pen test reports, there's a lot of the similar stages of how we're getting into the network when we're using physical means. So from our point of view, we're often working with large organizations that are based out of the UK, but they are global as well. So for us, when we're picking a target, we like to pick, if we can, at least some of the countries that are maybe not as advanced technologically or necessarily in their security attitudes. So even a country such as Portugal, their attitudes can still be quite different. South Africa has been an amazing country that we've worked in multiple times for different companies. And in those kind of countries, you can kind of walk up, you've got the English accent, and you walk up and you just say, "Oh, hi, I'm from head office. I forgot my pass. Can I get in today?" And they'll just open the barrier and send you up to security to get your temporary pass. So I've actually had a pass issued. I needed it for a week, and they issued it for a month just in case. The culture can be really different as well. So people are often a lot more relaxed in these developing countries where maybe they've seen that they can just send reports back to the UK and say everything's A-OK. And actually on the ground, everyone's chilling out. The barriers are permanently open. Everyone's just saying, "Hey, yeah, come on in," and you have a good time. In advanced countries, especially in Northern Europe, people are a lot more polite. So even if you have got your pass that's tucked away because you haven't managed to print it, or even if you have got something that's a little bit amiss, maybe your lanyard's the wrong color, or maybe you are in the wrong area, people are still a bit too polite. So in Germany and Netherlands, we see this a lot where people won't confront you, and you can kind of ride on that. Subsidiaries and acquisitions are our favorites. So any company that's been recently bought in the last 2 years, they'll really have a lot of cultural pushback, and they won't want to integrate culturally into the organization. But their parent company would have still wanted to plug everyone in, put them on the same email accounts, get the branding sorted. But at the personnel level, everyone kind of thinks they know better, and they know that what these rules that are coming down from head office aren't necessarily right fit for their company. So again, maybe you are from head office or whatever your backstory might be, you can definitely use that where the subsidiary hasn't quite adopted to the security policies and the way of working that head office would prefer. And again, with the subsidiaries point, productivity is the main goal, right? Often. So, it's really important that everyone's just getting plugged in and we can get working, get everyone on the same system. So productivity is probably one of the main things, as we all know, that actually slows up security. And people might say it's the opposite way around sometimes. So another way to do recon, we've all done it before we go to a meeting or we go on site. We're using Google Maps or Google Earth to kind of give us a heads up. So this was a bit of recon that I did for a hobby job on the weekend. It's probably not fair that I put up videos of recon from any of our clients. So this is a landmark in London that I was actually able to get access to out of hours on the weekend. And it's these kind of things. You can just use a bit of open source information to kind of just guide you before you're on site, to give you an idea. And it's not necessarily going to tell you how you're going to get in. It's just going to help familiarize you with the building and give you a sense of what to expect when you're there. And then this little video from inside. Don't do this, but you can if you want. But it's your weekend, do what you want. So another really, really decent source of information is the planning office. So you'll get floor plans for most modern buildings from a planning office. And even if this office has restricted areas or areas that don't necessarily need to be in the plans, architects want to get those plans through, and that's what they're good at. So they'll provide as much information as they can to really help set the scene for what developments are going to happen in that building. So this is one from actually WIFI. I didn't have time to find anything juicy, unfortunately. But you can see the architects love just putting as much detail as they can in. So stuff that might not even be relevant, you can help get a lot of information before you arrive on site. And again, in the past, it has helped us a lot. Maybe we see a fire escape connects to a door that goes to a basement, and we found that some basements are connected to other buildings. So we have learned stuff from planning offices that we didn't know, being an outsider. I'm not really sure what the remedy for this is, because again, productivity is important. So it's important that these companies are getting their buildings modified and getting the plans through. But from a red team perspective, just be aware that you can get a lot of information from planning offices. Another thing, cameras more than 2.5 meters in height require planning permission. So again, this is from WIFI, and they're planning on putting new cameras up. So you can see the location and the direction that the camera is going to be pointing. And again, you might think, well, this is getting a bit unrealistic now, but actually we do have security guards that are following us on cameras. And we've spent up to 45 minutes before in fire escapes hiding from the cameras, just waiting for them to forget about us and hoping that we can kind of get out of the fire escape. And we've had some close shaves, but finding areas that aren't covered by cameras has definitely helped us. Another brilliant source of information for getting inside buildings that you don't necessarily have a lot of information about, architects and interior designers, they really want to promote their work on Instagram or on their website, whereas the client, our client and their client, they might want to keep that stuff a bit secret. So this is from a real job where there was no way of finding out the layout or the interior of the client's building. But with a bit of research, we were able to find the interior design. And these shots did actually really help us get access to the building, because what we've got here, we've got a shared meeting space, but we can see at the front entrance, we've got receptionists. So if we want to get into this part of the building, we're going to have a pretty good story of why we want to be in this space. And this meeting room specifically connected two buildings via a glass walkway. And we were trying to get onto the other side of this glass walkway. And at that point, we didn't know that there was another way in. which we later found, but we were very focused on this area, so we knew that we would definitely need a decent backstory if we found ourselves here. Anyway, we did find ourselves there, and sure enough, the security guard asked us where our pass was, because we'd been able to get into the building without a pass. And yeah, this is kind of where it led to us hiding in the stairs, because we said, our passes are on our desk, we're just going to get them. Yeah, and as I'm hammering the lift to close, he's walking up saying, yeah, I'll come with you. It's like, no, it's fine. We're going up to the 5th floor. We'll be back. And then we ran down the stairs and hid for 45 minutes. But at least we kind of knew that we were going to expect to be questioned. Whether you make a plan around that or not, I guess entirely up to you. This same building, from the outside, again, Google Earth, we could see that the stairs are going to lead up. And from the shape of the windows, we can see the windows are different on each floor. So we kind of could somewhat surmise that maybe these windows are from that first floor. And sure enough, we understood where that room was going to be in the building before we were even there. Yeah, handshaking, classic corporate vibes. Another thing is really important from these kind of things. So we can see there, we can really get a sense of the dress code in that building. And again, you want to blend in. If you turn up in a suit in some buildings, you're going to look massively out of place. This is Ben and Dimitri when we were trying to break into the 4G network. High-vis can go a long way, but again, as soon as you find yourself on a corporate floor with everyone in a suit, is that really the most appropriate thing to be wearing? I find that a suit with high-vis kind of puts you right at the top, because then you're the boss of the guy that's wearing high-vis, and you're probably doing something that no one else needs to know about, so you can just go about your day. Full casual, more and more, that's pretty common dress code in offices, especially, if it's a technical company. So again, don't go turning up to a technical company wearing a suit, because no one's going to greet you with a friendly face, and everyone's going to be questioning who you are and why you sat at their hot desk. So on-site preparation, I don't have a timer. Does anyone give me a shout on time? Oh, I'm good. Thanks. So this is pretty much all we need to take, as well as a laptop, of course. So we've got the selfie printer. So this is the printer that I print out passes. So most of the passes that I take have been printed out in a cafe. So this is about 100 quid, and it'll print out. You can actually buy the card-shaped paper that will just stick directly onto a blank. Then we've got the Proxmark 3. Again, between 100 and 200 pounds, you can clone passes with this. So once you are in a building, maybe you want to start bumping into people. Then we've got Raspberry Pi for a bit of bypassing on a network, or maybe we can create a bridge with that. And then the classic Alpha. Another bit that is important, if you do get into a meeting room and maybe you settle down, you might want to lock your laptop up, because we've had it before where we've not want to leave a meeting room because we've got a decent place to sit. We've gone to get a bite to eat in the canteen, and we've come back and our laptops have gone missing. So yeah, lock them up if you can. More importantly, take your time. So I say to everyone that's on the team, it's Monday, we're not getting in today. Whether we do get in or not on the Monday, it's important to really dial it back and take your time and just watch how the organization works, watch how people operate, watch where security guards go, and just have a coffee and just become part of the space and just really chill out. Because if you go rushing in there and full of energy and full of hype, you're going to screw up. This is a fire escape that we got in through, and this was opposite a coffee shop. So we were sat just having a coffee, and from the floor plans, we already knew that these two doors went to different parts of the building, but a security guard on the right door with the uniform of the company we were trying to get into kept coming in and out and doing his rounds from this door. So we knew if we try and tailgate someone in, a smoker or the rest of it on the left side, we're going to end up in the wrong part of the building. Another thing we do is walk around and we take photos of people's passes. So before we're actually in a restricted area, we just walk around again, taking our time with a cup of tea, and just take as many photos as you can of people and their passes. That
was of the pass, right?
Hey? yeah, of course, yeah. I'll come on to this one in a bit, yeah. This was a very, very important photo, actually, yeah. So this guy's called Dean. He was head of security at a company that we're trying to break into, and unfortunately he'd been tipped off that we were coming. He hadn't hired us, but word had got round that there's some people that are trying to break into the building, and I have to put him in because it was hilarious watching him on the walkie-talkie operating, trying to spot these hackers that are coming. And I managed to get pretty close to him, and he had no idea what a hacker actually looks like when they're trying to break into a building. So this is Alex. I asked Alex to send me a photo of him looking smart so I could make him a fake pass. So thanks, Alex. So in the cafe, I decided to smarten Alex up a little bit. Find a guy in a suit if I could. So, I mean, not every suit's appropriate when you're trying to break into a building. But yeah, we can smarten Alex up here a little bit with a bit of Ryan Gosling. So this was done from a cafe, and unfortunately, so this was using an online program called Pixela, which is kind of an online Photoshop. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect, the work you're doing. It's not going in vogue, although this could. It just has to pass the kind of passing eye test where someone glances down, they're kind of like, oh, does he work for? Oh, yeah, he works for us, yeah. He's a bit of a jazzy guy as well. And again, so what we see in corporate offices as well, a lot of the passes are really, really simple because they don't need to be a complex design. So more often than not, they're pretty easy to forge. And there we go. That was printed out on this printer, and it got us into the building and just helped us operate and just look a little bit more, well, maybe not Alex, but I mean, who wouldn't want that guy working for them? Maybe head of sales or something. So, yeah, the reason for that photo, let's see if we've got audio here. Be good if we have.
Hi, is that Lucy?
Hi, yeah.
Hi, I'm just with Luke up in the office, and what's that? Yeah, Luke. One sec. Yeah, I'm just with Luke up in the office, and he's saying there's an IT guy that needs to come and look at the printer. Can you give him access to behind the desk and give him whatever he needs?
Yeah, no, that's no problem.
Okay, he'll probably be round in maybe 5 minutes, I guess. So if you just point him to the printer and, yeah, just help him out wherever he needs it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, yeah, at that point, we'd tried to get in through the back entrance, and security said, oh, maybe you guys aren't supposed to be here. So I made that call, so hence me taking the actual photo of Lucy's pass, and just called the main number of the office, asked to be put through to Lucy, and the guy that answered said, oh, hi, yeah, Luke here, how can I help? And then so he patched me through, and then I'm coming from the internal number to Lucy, and I just said, hi, is that Lucy? Danny's coming down, basically. And Danny was there for 3 hours, just plugged into the printer and just doing what he needed to do. And sure enough, he was on the corporate office network at that point. Another way in, a lot of you would have seen these keypads. If you ever see this keypad, it's really, really easy to bypass, the same as you would on one of those combination locks of a bike. If you put the pressure on the turn knob, whichever is the hardest to push pin, that's the next one that you should push. So if you fully lock it on, obviously press C first, lock the dial fully on, give it some pressure, and just press whichever button is the next hardest, and you'll work out the combination. And the thing about those combinations is that it doesn't matter which order they go in, so people often will list it as 396, whatever that one was. It doesn't matter the order you press them in, so you just lock it on and just find whichever's the most firm, and the next one to push it'll be really, really different to all of the others. So yeah, there's a free tip for you there. If there are no locks that you can easily bypass, again, a hotel card or some other card that you don't really care about can be used to shim the lock. So this was in a car park in the basement of an office in Munich. Again, luckily, I don't know if it's Germany or the privacy thing, but there was no CCTV in the car park. So just spent 5 minutes trying to bypass this door and got in through a fire escape door, and then we were in the office. And then once we're in, we spend a lot of time in basements, poking around, looking for things that might be of interest. And again, a lot of these really large buildings have quite industrial basements where they've got to route air and water and the rest of it. Cheers. So yeah, of course, so this network did actually give us corporate access, but what we were also able to do is the red router there, that had internet access. So we were able to bridge the corporate network to the internet if we wanted to give us decent persistent access that way. These boxes were all empty cardboard boxes in the basement on another job. And again, what we were able to do here is take the MAC address from that Mac and clone the MAC address. And of course, Macs aren't attached to the domain as easy as Windows PCs. And so that helped us authenticate to the wireless just on a Mac whitelist. So you got to, once you're in, keep your eyes peeled, right? And keep your technical mind on and be like, oh, well, yeah, this might come of use. Yeah, more basements can be a bit boring. So we really want to be where everyone else is, just upstairs, smiling, getting a cup of tea. It feels really good once you're in, but it comes at a bit of a cost. This was Danny's heart rate after a security guard had been chasing us around. Danny hadn't run at this point whatsoever. I'm sure he has in his life, but at this point, we're still just walking around the building and his heart rate's up at 140. So even though we're kind of allowed to be there, you've got so many doubled lies going on in your head, it's hard to keep track of what's going to happen when you do actually get caught. So the main challenges once we're in, for the techies, it's going to be obvious. So Ethernet access, network access control, and kind of drifting into the wrong area. The biggest problem is food. So prep and make sure you got snacks in your bag because you're going to get hungry. And once you're in, maybe you get into an area that you can't leave, or if you do leave, it's going to be difficult to get back in that area. So take snacks and settle down somewhere and make sure you've got enough for lunch and a decent afternoon snack. So getting around Ethernet security, a little bit of techie stuff before we wrap up. So often printers are a bit more dumb than the rest of the devices on the network. So we're going to have MS Chat authentication and network access control on the network that's going to slow us up from plugging our own laptops in. What we can do is plug into a printer port often, clone the MAC address of the printer, and it's going to help fast track us onto the network. And of course, people need to see that printer, so we're going to have direct access to, if nothing else, at least corporate workstations. So there we were plugged in. And on that printer, luckily in that area, there was an out of order sign just knocking around. So we just put that on the printer and people were coming up trying to print. And because they thought we were the print team, we were getting roped into helping people print their work from the other printer. And yeah, I was really out of my depth at that point. Trying to print a Word document is damn hard. So yeah, there you can see we're just plugged in and we're kind of happy as Larry. Another way, getting around port security. So you can actually configure a Raspberry Pi pretty easily to act as a bridge. And that will help you get packets on the network whilst you're looking like a computer that's supposed to be on the network. So you can put this in between a router and a computer that will authenticate to the NAC, and you can inject packets onto that Raspberry Pi, and they'll put it onto the network as the computer that you've had authenticate to the port. There's We have our own scripts that do that, and they'll power up the Raspberry Pi and look for a gateway and look for packets. But I'm pretty sure there's some stuff on GitHub that will put you in the right spot with that. Being in the right place. So again, a meeting room. If you can book a meeting room out, get it for as long as you can. So just book the meeting room out for the week and you're good. And because we're in such polite countries, no one's going to pop their head in. No one's going to do anything. So for this meeting room here, we did actually go in through the conference system and we had this TV off the wall. We had the cables all splayed out for the whole week just so we could get access onto the network. And no one disturbed us. No one said, hey, what are you doing? And the rest of it. So we were all good. Building persistence. So once you're in, what do you want to do? So you can start cloning the easier cards that are less secure. You can steal visitor passes if you can. So if you can get to behind reception, or if you can get to a spot in the building, maybe there's a bin where people dump their passes at the end of the day. Just keep your eyes peeled for any passes that are going to help you later in the week, because that first time getting in can often be the hardest. And once you know the building, just keep looking out for ways that you're going to get in on Tuesday and through the rest of the week. Signing in a friend as a visitor. So if you can get one guy in and the other guy still stood in the coffee shop, you can just walk to the barrier and just say, hey, Steve, yeah, come on in. Yeah, oh, yeah, can we get this guy in? The rest of it, maybe he's carrying something and we just get him in that way. So this is a video, another funny story. There was no one in reception and we'd been in this building until about 10:30 at night, just taking out open computers. So obviously everyone's laptop's encrypted. So we stayed in the office till out of hours. Desktops aren't traditionally encrypted. So we just took our time, hang around the office till 8. People start going home, 9, 10. And at 10, we know there's no one left. So we just start going through the floor and just taking desktops apart, plug the desktop hard drive in your computer and start getting hashes off the computer that way. Before we left the building, I was like, I'll just get some passes. So I'm scoping out the reception. And little did I know it, on the other side of the glass, there's the night security just smoking, watching me through the glass, and I can't see them. And she's just there, like just smoking, watching. I don't know where she was stood. Anyway, she comes bawling in, like, can I help you? We're like, oh yeah, just looking for the exit. And she's like, okay, yeah, the exit's here. I was like, oh, thanks very much, thanks. Yeah, it's here. Oh yeah, and again, no alarms were raised, no nothing. Keep your eyes peeled because, this girl left her pass in the food top-up machine. Again, thanks very much. Helps us out for the rest of the week. So once we've got network access secured, it's up to us then go and do the techie pit, the traditional pen testing, and start, running Nessus and, what us pen testers do, run Nessus, get a cup of tea. No, what's actually going on is a lot of hard work trying to find vulnerabilities on the enterprise network. We're scanning, we're nmapping, we're trying to find those services. Again, same approach. We're looking for those really high impact, high risk vulnerabilities that are going to get us into a server, and then we can start to escalate privileges throughout. And we want to prove further persistence. So we want to take control of that domain and stay there as long as we can. We want to be able to leave and prove that we got in, got some data, and we got some access as well that we could take with us. And make sure you get the evidence. So that's me and Danny up there with two big smiles on in an office that we shouldn't be in. So that was me. Any questions? We got time for questions?
I think we won't take questions here.
Okay.
Thank you very much, first of all.